Bro, did you get those like photos of like the Annabelle, like where you could see all like the ghosts in there because they freaking moved her? The freaking
Yeah,
know.
somebody had a good idea that it would be okay to take Annabelle, the most world's famous, infamous, deadly doll, on tour.
All for propaganda on some movie and on a psychic medium type thing. That's crazy.
I know. I'm like, I'm so glad I don't live in Texas no mo. Goodbye.
Yeah, now we have 11 inmates missing.
I know. Like, wow.
Oh, is that you got away?
Yes, do you want to go get a Coke or something?
Annabelle episodes are most
Here we are, in your car. Story told in long ago, all our true and here we are, in your car. Story told in long ago, all our true and
Hey guys! So I'll be doing the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. And the backstory to this is it was about four elite people in Hollywood at the time in 1926 got together and they put in the money to build this hotel. And it was supposed to be like for the highest Hollywood stars, and it was going to be such a big thing. They put their money together. They had this hotel built. It was known to be where they had the very first Academy Awards, which didn't even get filmed, which I thought was so crazy. Now, a lot of people stayed. Marilyn Monroe stayed for a couple years. Shirley Temple was somebody that was also told. Now, the hotel was originally built so that people could stay and have a good time, being in the Hollywood scene. And it literally just over the years had many different people staying there, living there for a long period of time. It was exactly what it was built to be. Now, towards the end of some of these superstars' lives and things like that, some of them were told to have been seen there. So the Hollywood the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel was supposed to be like a very big hotel for superstars. And when I get into the readings of it, and then now I'm getting into the hauntings, it seems like some of the Hollywood stars just went back.
All right, so we're going to start with me, of course. I had the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel. Now, this hotel was founded by 4 elite Hollywood people at the time. Now, with this hotel, back then, it was very, what's the word? Very different for the Hollywood actors to put for a hotel, of course, right? Because they're the actors, they're the ones who are entertaining. But for some reason, 4 of the top high elite people at the time that were in Hollywood put money together to build this lavish hotel. It was supposed to be very accommodating to Hollywood generation and just, all these little fancy things. Now, it was built in 1926. It was finished by 1927. Now, it was considered to be a very, very like nice hotel. The stairways on the inside were like very beautiful. It was just at that time for what was in fashion in that era, it was a very beautiful hotel. And it was meant to bring in people from Hollywood, of course, right? So let's say in the 1929. In 1929, they have this room in there called the Blossom Ballroom. Now, that's exactly where the first Academy Awards took place. And at that time, it was $5 for the event. And that one, considering that it was in the ballroom, that was the fee. Everybody came, looking good and everything, but it was not recorded. It wasn't on TV or the radio at the time. It was just an event people went to, and they paid $5 to get there, but they still looked fancy. And back then, $5 was a lot of money, of course. And when you go into this hotel and you see the ballroom, it's very beautiful, but at the same time, like, you think about the Academy Awards now, and it's so small compared to what it's become. And the first Academy Awards was only 15 minutes long. That really surprised me.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was like something that they talked about. They say in the 1950s, there was a bit of a decline. In By the 1980s, it was bought out by the Radisson, and it had many restorations after that. Now, during the time when there's all these movies and these old school Hollywood actors who were in at the time, I know that Clark Gable was one of them, who stayed there. Marilyn Monroe, of course, she was doing actually I think two different movies, but they say that she stayed there for 2 years straight. And if I'm not mistaken, yes, it was in the 1200th bedroom. So like in suite, it was actually a suite. It was Suite 1200 that Marilyn Monroe stayed for 2 years while she was making two different movies. And then they also have uh I always want to say Cliff, I don't know why, but Cliff Montgomery was actually making movies at the same time. And if I'm not mistaken, two of them were there at the same time because Marilyn had been there for 2 years. And then they also had visits from Shirley Temple. Yes, this is Montgomery. This is Cliff Montgomery. He was a very well-known actor at the time, very handsome. He was one of the stars, one of the ones that the women just like were in
Well,
awe
look
of.
at him. Look at that
Yeah, I mean, he was a good-looking
hair.
guy. Yeah, for sure, he was a good-looking dude. And Marilyn Monroe, like I said, Marilyn Monroe had been there for 2 years straight while she was working on some stuff. And like back then in Hollywood, it was very um, normal for people to stay in hotels for long periods of time, considering that they were in Hollywood and things like that. Now, this hotel was built across the street from is it the Chinese movie theater? The Chinese movie theater. That's right. So a lot of them actually stayed in this hotel and walked the red carpet there at the Chinese theater. So it was really nice to see like how close it was to the Chinese movie theater there that everybody knows about. Now that we're coming into, who stayed and who was there while they were young and making movies, they have these stairs that are inside the hotel that here's Marilyn Monroe's beautiful. She's just so beautiful. They have these stairs inside the hotel where when Shirley Temple was actually in a movie where she was going down the stairs and she was having to tap dance, she was actually staying in the hotel at this time. Now, during that time, they actually winded up naming the hotel stairs the Shirley Temple Hotel. I mean, the stairs Shirley
Shirley Temple. Yeah, I
Stairs.
think on the stairs that she did the tap on, from what I
Yes.
remember. But
Yes,
yeah,
she was practicing. They say that she was practicing on the stairs inside this Roosevelt Hotel stairs. So, like, as she's doing the movie, she would be here at the hotel practicing down the stairs her actual, movie tap. So that's why they winded up naming the stairs in the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, the Shirley Temple Stairs. So, like, and then when you're going up the Shirley Temple stairs, there's a big mirror on the second floor. So you go up one flight of stairs and you see this big mirror. You see those stairs? Yeah, good. These are the
yeah,
stairs
these are the
that
tap
Shirley Temple
dancing
herself,
stairs. Yeah.
yeah, that she was actually tap dancing to practice for that movie. Now, when you go up the first flight of stairs, there's a big mirror now in the hotel. And now, considering, like we said, like there was a lot of different people who went through here, a lot of these legends were there who left their legacy there in that hotel. And it just so happened to be that Shirley Temple was one of the people who practiced in the hotel on the stairs with her tap shoes. They had Marilyn Monroe living there for 2 years, which was very normal while she was doing movies. Cliff Montgomery was always seen there. Clark Gable, like there, and then there's just like so many different people that kind of just went in and out. But these are the ones that actually stayed and made time and like a life there at one time. And now we're going into these hauntings where like some of these people have passed away and things like that, and as they got older. And one thing that I know that they say is that the suite 1200 is considered to be now the Marilyn Monroe suite, and you can still stay there. But some people tend to say that they see her. Now, remember, Marilyn Monroe did not die there, but it seems like her spirit is there because people will stay now till this day and say that on that second floor mirror where the Shirley Temple stairs are, that they've seen her there in that mirror. Like, and I'm not saying like in the mirror, I'm just saying that when they're looking at a reflection, they see her in the hotel, you know? And then they say that Montgomery Cliff, the way you see him in the movie picture and how young he looks, the people have seen, yeah, you see that people have seen Montgomery Cliff's what they would call silhouette in a man that looks like him, but you would know what a ghost looks like, but what he would look like as a ghost. They say that he is seen in the hotel sometimes randomly in different places, and that he's known to that when you're around the area where he usually was and when you're around the room that he stayed in, he tends to tap people on the shoulder. Like they're saying that the spirit of the Montgomery Cliff is one to pat people on the shoulder, never being negative, just like tapping them, like to, hey, let them know that he's there. And then we have, they also talk about 928, which is the room in the hotel 928, where apparently people see maids all the time. So even some of the maids winded up staying and coming back. Now they don't ever talk about a maid passing away there. There's no history of maids dying there, but for some reason there are people that have seen apparitions of what would look like a maid, more or less near the room 928 or in the room 928. They think that they see a maid in there. So it wasn't just the Hollywood stars that were there or that spirits were there or that have been seen there, but even people that were in their on their daily work life, their spirits have even come back there or have never left, you know? Now we also have in the Blossom Room, there's some people who have said to seen a man in a tuxedo, very sharp looking guy, but they always say that when it's the man in the tuxedo that they always see in front or inside that ballroom. It was the Blossom Ballroom, and a lot of people who have stayed there and just visited or have taken pictures have seen a man who looks like what you would see in like an old school tuxedo. The one that was like that had the long tail but the very short cut here in the front, you know? And so that's another guy that they say that they see around in the ballroom. Now there is one that we're still trying to figure out the story on. The story of a little girl named Caroline. I tried to look up what possibly had happened to her, but all I got was the story about where they see her. So there's a little girl that they see sometimes in the hallways running around, or like they hear laughter or they hear footsteps, like a little kid running back and forth in these hallways sometimes. Now, the apparition that they see when they're hearing these things sometimes is a girl, a young little girl in a blue dress. Now, remember, when people are seeing white in a spirit or blue, it may kind of look alike, but people have very distinctively said, I saw a little girl running in a blue dress. And they know her name is Caroline. I don't know where that came from. I'm still trying to figure out if she may have died in the hotel or where this young girl came from. But the story is her name is Caroline, and that they can hear her calling for her mom like she's looking for her mother. So there's no story and that I have ever been able to find that this young girl got lost or died in the hotel at all. But they're saying that there's a young girl that people tend to see. Sometimes when they're going into their like checking into their rooms, they'll see like somebody run across this little girl in the blue dress, so they think it's just a kid. Or like you say, like they say they see like an apparition of what a little girl looks like in a blue dress, but like she's looking for her mother. She's calling out for her mom. And I haven't heard that it was like a scary voice. It was more just like a young child calling for their mother. So
Okay,
definitely have lots of
yeah.
activity going on there at that Roosevelt Hotel.
So I sent you a note.
Okay, great.
I was trying to find a photo of her. Oh, it's thundering, you guys. I'm sorry. You
No,
have to hear that. Makes it more intense, I guess, right?
Makes it sound like
Oh, okay. I see what's going on. Okay, so the story of Caroline is that it's the spirit of a little girl who drowned while her father was out. And she is often seen playing in the pool, especially the jacuzzi, makes it like a prank. Oh wow, this is so crazy. This is new info, guys. This is new info. Let me give it to you.
Just
So
in.
it says especially in the jacuzzi, and making prank calls from the hotel lobby. Yes, I did see that. Like they have her. I saw that the people in the front desk always talk about getting prank phone calls in the lobby, and that it's like a very like now it's like nonchalant. They know what happens all the time, but to people who are new, they don't know. They say she's described as looking for her parents, of course, like calling out for her mother, looking for her parents, and that the guests have seen her. The guests explain that they have seen her vanishing, like they see her and then she like disappears. I guess you would say, like, you know what I mean. So see, I'm glad that this was brought, because I was trying to figure out what was going on with the younger girl. So apparently she drowned while her father was out. That would explain a lot on why there was so much pool activity. Because I saw they did say that they saw her around the pool, and I didn't tell y'all, but like I was just wondering why. So I was just trying to figure out the story. But it's good to know.
Yeah.
Miss little baby girl Caroline drowned. I mean, I hate to say that it's a good thing. I'm just saying, like, we know her story now. She drowned while her father was out, and that would explain why she was always seen by the pool. And they, like we said, that they say that the guests have said that she seems like she's calling out for her parents. Like they hear her calling out for her mom. And one thing I didn't even, I don't know why I didn't snap to think, because my next thing that I was going to tell you guys was that the lobby people know, and the people who work in the front desk know, that they get prank calls randomly. And it's like a running joke in the hotel, like it happens, like we know it just happens. But yeah, I don't think that I had heard anything about describing like what's said. It's just like getting prank calls, or like, from people they don't know, but like, a prank call, and then
That's
the ones that always happen.
that's like a direct line to the dead. Like, are you kidding me? Please don't prank call me. I got enough problems.
Yeah, for sure. So this Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel Inn was definitely a um a place where people not only like to be in the moments of where it was like the hottest time of Hollywood in their era, but it was also a place where I think some of these ghosts winded up going back, because it was probably the most comfortable and lavish time of their era. So like Marilyn, like we said, Marilyn Monroe she didn't pass away there. But for some reason her soul is always being seen there. So maybe they actually liked it. Maybe some of them went back. Unfortunately for Caroline, she passed away there, and who knows if she's just stuck there. But it definitely it actually made top 30 of haunted places in California,
Hell
along with its
yeah.
sister hotel, who Karli is going to be talking about.
On this week's episode of Hauntings Around the World, we are doing Haunting California. I got the Haunted Hotel Cecile. It was built in 1924 by William Banks for about $1 million. Now, if y'all know, back in 1924, that was a lot of money. Over the years, this hotel has got a rap to it for being one of the most haunted places in California when it comes to hotels. Don't forget, you got the sister hotel too to this that's also haunted. What makes this one kind of special to me is this is where they say the Black Dahlia was last seen, right up to her. Also, there was a lot of, I don't know if I can say this name, they offed themselves type of thing in this hotel by jumping and everything else. The first one was in 1937. 25-year-old Grace E. Margot she became the fourth person to do this in this hotel already. Then over the years, it kept going on and on. So this is part of the ghost stories. Like, people say you can hear screaming, babies screaming, see women walking up and down. And then don't also forget a famous person, infamous, let's not say famous, infamous, sorry guys, I messed that up. Infamous person stayed there, known as the Night Stalker. His room is said to be haunted too. You also had the mysterious unaliving of Elisa Lamb. Her spirit is said to still be there, especially near the rooftop in her room. So this hotel has captivated over these centuries people. Like, it's a haunted experience, people say, from famous people that stayed there and then decided that would be the last night on this earth in this hotel. In 2011, Elisa Lamb is one of the most haunting things that happened in that building. She played, they say, I'm not going to say I believe, I don't know if this is true, but she did a certain game of, the elevator game goes up and down, and they say, to me it looks more like she was afraid of something, maybe in a panicked state, and that was the last known footage of her before getting footage of her up on the top, one of the top floors. But they don't know where she went after that until they found her a couple weeks later in the water supply tower up on the roof. But that's a whole nother thing. But they say her spirit is still haunting that area. It's just this, if you get a chance and you're in Cali, you gotta check out these haunted locations. I cannot wait to go over some of these. And in 1931, there was another, it was their first suicide off themselves. I don't know what I can say on here. It was W.K. Norton. He took a pile of poisonous capsules to end his, and they say since then, since 1931, it's been tons and tons of unalivings in that building, in that hotel. So that could spiral out of control. People hear voices, they hear footsteps in the middle of the night, they feel things, cold spots. You just get this eerie feeling when you go through this place, they say. So check it out, guys. Read up on it, and like always, blessed be. Love y'all. And remember, in the darkest dark, in the haunted haunts, you can still find beauty. Love y'all. So we're going to go to Skid Row right now to a hotel named the Hotel Cecil. It was built in 1924 from William Banks. He spent $1 million back then. It roughly estimates $13 million today. It was done all in marble. It's a beautiful structure. Like, you walk in, it'll take your breath away. Here's a little clip it. If you ever watched American Horror Story, the hotel one, that when you first walk in, like that scene, that's what it looks like. It's beautiful inside. That being said, that's where the beauty cuts out. Like, it totally cuts out at that part. So the first one was, many suicides have happened in this hotel. It's not worth going over all of them because it's way too many to go over, but let's go over the first four, a few of them. In 1930, in 1937, a 25-year-old Grace E. Margot she was the fourth one to die, or unalive, sorry, when she fell from the 9th story. Now look how high that building is. She plummeted herself. Her body was actually entangled in telephone wires underneath it. So she didn't actually make it all the way down until she entangled herself, then fell the rest of the way. They were unable to determine if this was an accident, an unaliving, or something more insidious. They could not tell what happened with Gracie Margot. That's another, that's a newer one with the Lisa Lamb story about the elevator going up and down in 2011. The last known real footage of her was in that elevator, then on the top floor. But after that, she kind of disappears. For that one, we don't know. They say it might have been suicide or it might have been murder. We don't know. She's undetermined. The fact that the only reason they knew she was up in the water tower is because they were drinking the water and something was off weeks later. And that's when they went up to investigate and found her naked body in the water tower. That's the weird part about this. The hatch was closed. So if she would have went in to close that hatch is kind of hard to determine. Now this is gonna yes, that last water tower here. Now, as we're having this picture up, I'm gonna go over something with this picture. That one actually has another famous person entitled to it, known as the Night Stalker. He tagged them water towers at one time with 666 and satanic markings. That's the same water towers. If that like bogs your mind right there. Because it does
Yeah.
mine. It's kind of weird that
Didn't read
like
that the latch was closed too. Like, was that a sign from him that he was going to wind up doing something, or that he did?
that's what I don't get. Like, how did she make it up to the top? How did she fold the clothes? How did she go in? And definitely, how did she close the hatch behind her?
Yeah.
Now, there is another suicide that was one of the first suicides was W.K. Norton, and we have his little newspaper clipping. He was discovered with a pile of poison capsules with that one. I'm sorry. Oh, that was the first one. Sorry. Nope, that's fine. I'm just giving it a second. Oh, yeah, sorry. Oh, you good. I was just letting it catch up. Search for a man and finding the body. That was one of the first unalivings there, by his own hands. So, and then after that, it just catapults. Like it's one after another over the years. And then there is another serial author, if you want to call him that, an Australian one from 1974. He was convicted and sentenced for his crimes. He unlived people while he visiting from Australia. He was staying in the Cecile Hotel, and he. I don't know how to explain it. Some of his victims were actually brought back to that hotel. His victims were women of the night. So that was the Night Stalker, and he actually left evidence behind at the Cecile Hotel in a dumpster. And he would actually come home from his crimes. Well, home to him was the hotel, and walk through the lobby with just his underwear on, bloody, up to his room, and nobody noticed in this hotel. Nobody.
Nobody just saw this guy in his underwear and red
No,
stains.
they didn't even notice
Oh
it. He would
my.
go up, wash himself off. His room is actually still said to be really heavy. Like people do not like when the hotel was actually up and running full time, they wouldn't really like to stay in that room. They actually blocked that room off for a while. The hotel Cecile got a new like kind of evap done, and now they're housing homeless there through the city too. So it kind of got a new face to it, but it's the same hotel.
Mhm.
It's the hotel. Like once you know that hotel, you know that hotel.
Yeah.
And then there was another one, viewer discretion for this one. A mother gave birth in the hotel and actually threw her newborn out the window in a panic. They say, back then we didn't know too much about post departing, like depression and stuff like that. But she ended up throwing her newborn baby out the hotel window to the ground. Like I said, viewer discretion. A lot of the ghostly sightings for children and that is babies crying on that floor. You will be sleeping, and people said they woke up to a baby crying right next to them, and they didn't know it was coming. And that to me is just awful.
Yeah.
And then we're gonna get to Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. She was allegedly spotted having a drink at a hotel days before her unaliving. I'm sorry, I so like is saying the actual word, guys. This story is in dispute. Like they go back and forth. Like, no, she wasn't there. Yes, she was there. She was taken out in a back door. She wasn't taken out in the back door. We really don't know the details leading up to the Black Dahlia, but a lot of reports do put her at the Hotel Cecile.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the black figures they see at this hotel. It's just this one, it's just I don't know how to explain it. Like from the serial offers to the suicides to the Black Dahlia, one would say it would be crazy not to think this hotel is holding on to its secrets closely to its chest.
Yes,
Like
I agree.
100%. This hotel is just one of them up there, has always captivated me. Like when I read anything about California, I always go to the Hotel Cecil because she has everything. She has murder, she has unalivings from people's own hands to serial people to famous people like the Black Dahlia. Um, then the other sex workers type of deaths in the hotel.
I feel like this
People that
hotel too also came with suspicious deaths. That's what
it
makes it even more intriguing. Like some of these we
Yeah.
knew about, but there's so many questionable deaths too that have happened.
yeah, 'cause there's a lot, like, just the one that came from the window on the ninth floor, and they don't know if she jumped or she was pushed. Something pushed her out the window. They don't get it because she was so cheery that day, like, it didn't make
Mhm.
sense, but they say people that are about to end their life become more
They're some of the
cheery.
happiest. Yeah.
Yes, because
Mhm.
they know it's about to
Yeah.
be over with. And they also
Mhm.
say hotels are a place people check in to do that sort of thing.
Yes, I have heard that. It's like a textbook place people go to do those types of things.
it's just this hotel is just I don't know how to explain it, like, I'm
Room
looking for the right word.
room service, please. Spend all my money before
And
I go.
then just knowing Richard Ramirez, who off 38 people, one of them maybe at that hotel, by the way.
Mhm.
Outside, they found a little girl's body in the dumpster while he was staying there. They couldn't link it to him,
Mhm.
but
But there was so many rumors that it was him who took
yes,
care of it. Yeah. Mhm.
it's just it's crazy. And then it was so busy back then, they didn't even notice somebody walking in bloody. Like, it was so crazy.
And
Like,
back
I'm
then,
sorry.
around that time, like, things like this were not pronounced very well looked at coming from a very nice hotel. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you would lose business. So I feel like even had anybody seen him in his bloody underwear or seen something suspicious specific, nobody would have wanted to say anything because this is such a high class hotel. This could have lost business. The managers, I feel like the managers too may have overlooked what was
Well,
going on. He was being
they
paid, you
did
know?
hide something. It came out years later. This was hitting that Jack Unterberger, I can't say his last name, stayed there. It was kind of hidden, like, people didn't really talk about it. Now, I'm gonna grant you oh, he left his country in 1974 and came over here. He was prosecuted in, I think, 1991. No, he checked in 1991 to this hotel, and he started offing sex workers at the hotel. I think
Mhm.
that was covered up because you hear about Night Stalker, you hear about all these other ones, but we don't hear about the Australian guy who
Serial.
actually lived there and did his murders there, and he was also a journalist. He was a bestseller, like, author, this guy was. Like,
Hmm.
he really was. You're telling me a bestseller who turned serial wouldn't get
Attention.
noticed? Yeah,
Mhm.
like, something don't make sense there.
Yeah.
But, he did off himself in prison after his second conviction by hanging himself
Yeah.
in the cell, and he used a distinctive knot when he did that, the same knot they found at that hotel on some of
Yeah.
the yeah,
Oh,
it's just I'm
okay.
sorry, but that's just crazy. But that is a Hotel Cecil, and I do offer anybody to really look into that hotel. That is one that is it's crazy, and people stay there today, say, like, some of them, if you ever watch, like, the documentary of the newer ones, like, they feel an off presence, like, they
Mhm.
feel the darkness in that hotel, like, they'd rather be
I
back
feel the
home.
darkness just looking at the photos. What do you
Yeah.
mean? It's like darkness everywhere. It might all you need is the Annabelle doll, you
I
know?
know, right? But one woman actually said she'd rather live back on the streets than stay in that hotel another night.
Well, I mean, you're thinking like,
Another housing homeless in it.
how
Yeah.
ridiculous is that? Be like, okay, we don't want any more. Too many creepy things are happening. Let's give it to the homeless. And the homeless is like, I don't want it.
No, and they don't, like and now it's more murders there, by the way. There's more stabbings, there's more shootings happen at the hosts as we speak. There's still more going on. It's just racking the bodies up at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That hotel needs to be torn down,
Well,
demolished.
and then they're gonna release the ghosts to the
Actually, turn it
streets.
into a homeless shelter. I feel like that was a good idea.
No,
No,
these
no, I don't.
some of
Considering
these
that there was so much evil and death that had happened in that hotel, I mean, just alone having the Ramirez there, I would have never turned that into a hotel or any type of homeless shelter because
it's
homeless
not.
people have depression and a lot of
That's what I was gonna say. A lot of
emotional distress. Let alone we have
yes,
people who've off themselves here and alive themselves, and
it's
I
just
would
feeding
never.
people,
Yeah,
and
I would never want to do that. Yeah.
and the county did it because it was a cheap hotel that they can
And
rent
they
out.
got it cheap so they could. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
And
It's
then
crazy
people
how
stay
they
there.
make a little bit more sometimes.
Yeah, they don't, and it's just gonna keep continuing. I hate to say this, it's gonna keep collecting
Yeah.
and collecting,
That building
and
is gonna be collecting souls for a while.
it has been collecting it since 1931. We're actually we're in the year 2025. In 6
Yeah.
years, it'll be collecting for 100 years, guys.
Mhm. And that's
So
a grandfathered in hotel, so
it is.
it
But
ain't going nowhere.
that is it for the Hotel Cecile for right now. I'm gonna let Latan go over hers now.
Get ready with me as I tell you the story of the Wiley House. Built in 1858 by Thomas Wiley himself. Okay, this was like at one point a general store, a theater, different things, and eventually residential home. It's the nicest house within 150 radius. As a matter of fact, well, I declare, as soon as Wiley House moved in, they said that they believed the house was haunted with Yankee Jim Robinson. Okay, so this guy was said to be hung for being a thief. From what I remember of the story, homeboy, he, like I said, he's a thief, right? And so he actually made some friends along with him, and they went to go steal, got caught, and he actually went to court and thought, oh, nothing's gonna happen to me. Well, they were like, oh, you're gonna get hung, but he actually still believed, I'm not actually gonna get hung. Well, baby. So his little 6'3" got hung. However, the weird thing about this was while he was hanging, because he was so tall, he could actually reach the bottom. So he had thus leaving a long, dreadful death. He actually started swinging himself while he was being hung. That way, and that's what suffocated him and killed him. So Mr. Wiley believed that this house was cursed because there were so many deaths in there, right? One of which started with, they had 3 children, later on had 3 more, but the first baby, baby Thomas, actually passed away at 18 months old. So shortly after this tragedy, the store actually burns down, and they were obviously devastated. Nothing was salvageable. They're like, this is the second time this is burned down, in this area. So he's like, okay, that's it. We're going back to San Francisco and just have a new fresh start. And that's when they had the 3 children, right? Well, I gotta tell you, while they were gone, they ended up actually renting out 3 rooms to the home. Perfect for them, for income. You go, right? But then there's an earthquake. So they're like, okay, now what? They end up building a second courthouse with a judge stand behind it and some railing, and still rented out some rooms. So that was cool. But then, not long after, Violet, one of their children, there was a suicide, and that had to do with a whole marriage, and I can get more into that. There was a double wedding. Anna married John, and then Violet married that one guy I can't remember. I had to look back on. I'm doing this based off memory. Forgive me. Anyway, so the guy was like, it was very just short-lived, because he was like, I can't do this anymore. I only married you for money, not love. And that's why Violet just, So anyways, Corinne was so devastated by this death that she too ended her life. Creepy stuff is happening in my room, y'all. Mr. Wiley passed on in December 1890, where he was older. He died and passed away eventually. Someone bought it out and made it a tourist site. And that's the story. And I have to tell you about the haunting, so stay tuned.
All right, so this is the Wiley house. Look at all these cute little people. I mean, it's supposed to be scary. Sorry, let me introduce you to the little thing in the background. Okay, so let's talk about the haunting. So, since Thomas Wiley, and I don't know if I'm saying his name wrong, so I apologize, but they actually first noticed his ghost in 1857. That was like the staff and the guests. They had reported activities inside this house. And it ranges from friendly to foreboding. You know, it's just like there was just unexplained like noises, like flickering lights, cold spots, footsteps, disembodied voices. And that's just a piece of it, right? That they have just witnessed over through the years. So the chandeliers are known to sway if an unseen force is gently pushing them where there's no breeze. That would make me pee my pants and leave. Then there was an unexplainable mist and orbs that have been seen and photographed by hundreds of witnesses. So obviously, this is like one of the most haunted places in California, and I just really thought it was great. It's like a really good site for like paranormal investigations and stuff. But some of the photos are just like when you go online and you look, they're just shocking, and they can actually be viewed on their website as well. So a lot of this information came from their website. So the Whaleys actually reported hauntings upon their return to the house in 1912. This isn't like surprising since again it had like been vacant for decades, and the return of the Whaleys likely activated the doormat spirits. I don't know if that's a thing, but I feel like it is. You know how we're like in a house and they're like, there's just that distilled air. I think that's kind of what it's talking about. Like everybody says you don't want that. Okay, sage it. Um, while Thomas and Anna found the spirits of the home to be like pretty sinister, their son George actually embraced the ghosts. George was known to communicate with the spirit of his father, Violet, and the Yankee Gym after moving back into the Wiley house. Yes, and this is the family. This is where they started. It's awesome. And then so these actually these spirits they ain't played around. They want you to know that they're there. Okay, they enjoy California. That's all I got to say. Like not to be dramatic, but the other hauntings, like they include the sound of like a ghostly piano playing, despite there's no longer being a piano in the building. There's a phantom barking dog, um, and let's see. So there's sounds of a party in the empty courtroom, right? So I don't know if y'all saw the empty courtroom earlier, but like there's also sounds of like children playing, crying, laughing, just all the kid noises, you know what I mean? So, the sounds of children are often attributed to the ghost of Thomas Wiley Jr. As you can see, he should be there in the bottom right, I believe. I could be wrong. Oh, well, actually, no, maybe, I don't know. Well, no, okay, hold on. Gotta do my math. So they think that like the sounds of the children's like attributed it went because oh my god, the ghost of Thomas Wiley Jr. I don't know if I just said that. So he died in the home, like I said earlier. He passed away when he was 18 months old. There are phantom scents of perfume and Cuban cigars that have been reported, and the smell of fresh baked bread and pies, and is noted to occur around the holidays. So, do we think that this is like holiday related, or you think it's a ghost? Like, I'll let you go and decide. But over the years, guests have reported physical reactions to being in the house. One poster on TripAdvisor wrote that they felt like a breeze hit them while in the house, and immediately felt sick. and as if they were going to like pass out. So these sensations are often felt with Violet Wiley's bedroom and the archway in the main parlor. So Violet Wiley, she is the one with the dark hair. I think there's a photo of her um, on the wall. There we go. And remember, she was the one that this is where all the drama, if you remember the backstory just a minute ago, she was like, her man was like, I did not marry you for love. It was for married. And I was reading this and I was like, excuse me? And then she went and took her life. Oh, baby. Oh, honey. We don't do that. We don't. We don't do that. How could you? Um, but you remember she was so sad. Her, I think it was her sister was just so like upset that she took her life, that she ended up taking her life. Don't take your life. Talk to somebody. So now Thomas and Anna Wiley, like as far as full-bodied apparitions at the house are concerned, Anna Wiley is the most reported spirit. Okay, she's like Mama Ghost. Like her ghost is often seen in the home's main floor or tending her beloved garden. I kind of wonder if that's why they smelt the bread and the pies. That's pretty interesting. So, because it's Mama, So as far as like full-bodied, rather than being frightening entity, those who encounter Anna report a sense of warm and positive energy coupled with the distinct scent of French perfume. So maybe that goes along with it. So on the whole, running into Anna Wiley is surprisingly pleasant experience, or as pleasant as seeing a ghost can be, you know what I mean? The same cannot be said for her husband, however. That's kind of sexist, but whatever. Sorry. So the ghost of Thomas Wiley, he is regularly seen on the house's second floor, usually standing at the top of the stairs. He's known to glare at people, and some even reported feeling smoke in their faces when encountering Thomas's friendly spirit. So he's known to be just rather like grumpy. Thomas's death doesn't seem to have mellowed it. Like he's just grumpy in the afterlife. That's one way to live or not live. I don't know. So Yankee Jim. Okay, parental discretion advised. I can put this photo back up. It's everywhere, so it's fine. But so Yankee Jim, he was supposedly the first ghost to haunt the Wiley house. You can hear his heavy footsteps heard on the second floor, just as Thomas heard them in 1857. Witness also report seeing a tall, lanky man out of the corner of their eye that is believed to be Yankee Jim. I think James Robinson was one of the ones that was hung with him. And then the entity is considered ominous, and witness, that's him. Yep. Look at him. Yeah, I did it.
It looks like it.
So, they like people say that there's like a dark feeling with them. Anna actually described that in the 1850s. She's like, I just have a dark feeling, wall, whatever they said in California. But there's an archway in the Whaley's house, and I did not get that photo, but it's okay. And that's in the main parlor that was allegedly built across the exact spot where Yankee Jim died. So if you go and you see the archway, go a different way. Go around it. So those passing under the archway have felt like constricting sensation in their chest and a tightening around their necks as if experiencing Yankee Jim's hanging. So it's definitely more than you would just bargain for. Like you're definitely getting your money's worth. Now, Annabelle Washburn. She was 4 years old. Okay, I don't have a photo of her. Annabelle was a neighbor girl who was playing in the Wiley's backyard when she met her and ultimately demise. So while running across it says the year, Annabelle ran into a clothesline and was strangled. Barely alive, her small body was brought into the kitchen where she died on the table. Since then, Annabelle's lively spirit has been seen and heard playing in the backyard of the house. Now, however, there's no historical record about Annabelle or her death, leading some to believe that this is a fictional tale that became part of the Wiley House lore over the years. Not that anyone needed convincing that the house was haunted, like clearly it's haunted, but I just personally I don't see why anybody would make up a story like that. You know what I mean? But that's just my opinion. So it okay. When you visit the Wiley house now, it really is like a haunted experience. You can actually fully embrace its haunted past, and it allows you to live alongside the building's historical significance. They can do the self-guided tours during the day or the guided tours in the evening. These chilling tours are so famous that they have been featured on Travel Channel, Sci-Fi, and the Discovery Channel. So if you're wanting a more engaging experience, this will be the house for you. Small groups investigations begin at 10:30 p.m. You can use all your tools, the EMF readers, thermal cameras, spirit boxes, dowsing rods, whatever, whatever you got. And yeah, so that is the haunting stories of the Wiley house. I hope y'all enjoyed it.
Yeah, now what we say, viewer discretion is advised. I just wanted to remind them that when you were talking about the hangings, we
Mhm.
have an image, and I want us to pull it up for you guys, but I want to make sure that, you understand that we do have the viewer discretion advised, and that you guys can see why that, you would understand why now there would be so much hauntings, because like she said, that they hung these men, and this is something that actually happened. So I'm going to bring it up. This is one of the photos that was taken that Mary was talking about.
Yeah, and I was like, I hope that this isn't real, but it's possible that it was. Because, I mean, back then they used to take pictures of the past, and just prop them on a bed and be like, the viewing. I still don't understand, but what can you do?
And during
Um,
sometimes after the hangings, their loved ones would take a picture of them hanging still. So I
I
just
don't.
wanted to still share that photo, but also definitely give an extra viewer discretion advice, because not everybody can handle a photo like that.
Well, it was even weirder because in the story, he wasn't. He was propped up on a box thing. Like he was in one of those regular little things, and he literally had to swing himself just to. Because they were like, "You're just gonna sit here until you go. You're not getting up.
Yeah.
Take your time, baby, where you're going." So he
Mhm.
just started swinging himself, and that's what took
Ultimately.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was crazy. But I'm hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you have any questions or you have a hot spot you want us to look at, we are getting our hands dirty this summer, and we hope that y'all have a good night. And
We'll see you next time.
Blessed be.